Tonight on Prime Business, AFDB governors adopt 10-year strategic plan for the bank. We have details as it ended the 5-day meeting in Accra today.
To build greater hope, we had strong support for the African Development Fund to also explore and work hard on this, on going to the market in consultations with our Board of Governors, so that we can leverage our resources to provide even greater support for the low-income countries and fragile states. That is extremely encouraging.
Also, shareholders of EcoBank Group to receive $40 million as total dividend payment by end of June this year.
Start paying dividend. One of the challenges is you don't want to start and stop. So we've taken our time to start. We started low, and we believe that going forward we should be able to sustain this and grow it.
Based in the Ashanti region and shopping this weekend, Joy Business Shopping List brings you prices at the Ejiso market.
First pound near ton bargain 5 million. Say 6 million. First near bonum 5 cities. Not just about who once.
I am Beverly Broohm. Please stay for details. Hello and welcome. The Board of Governors for the African Development Bank have ended the 57th annual meetings in Accra with the adoption of a 10-year new strategic plan. The plan, which involves allowing the bank to take care of critical investment on the continent, has been described as pivotal to supporting revival of African economies and be the solution bank for Africa. Eben Sabute has been to the meeting and has filed this report.
The 5-day annual meeting saw the election of Egypt as the new chairman for the Board of Governors of the bank, as well as the signing of bilateral and multilateral deals between member countries and development partners. One of the biggest highlights was the Accra Declaration and the adoption of a 10-year strategy, which involves allowing the African Development Fund to leverage its equity to raise some $35 billion on the capital market, a move the president of the bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, believes will transform the fortunes of the bank.
Explore and work hard on this, on going to the market in consultations with our Board of Governors, so that we can leverage our resources to provide even greater support for the low-income countries and fragile states. That is extremely encouraging for us, and I'm grateful. The African Development Fund is going to the markets to use its accumulated equity of $25 billion to be able to raise $35 billion will not add to Africa's debt.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia urged the bank to use the 10-year strategy as a tool to rescue Africa out of poverty.
Follow the engagements in the course of these meetings and have noted with satisfaction the recommendation on expanding resource mobilization. I would like to underscore the need for this and add my voice to the call that the bank undertakes an aggressive resource mobilization drive, especially for the ongoing ADF 16 window, to meet the exigencies of these times. The bank should earnestly reform the regulations to enable the ADF to enter the market to leverage its resources, as the President mentioned.
In his speech, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta underscored the need for more support to make the bank a strong pillar of growth.
The boards of directors, management and staff should continue to work diligently towards a speedy completion of the next 10-year strategy and subsequent full implementation to achieve green and sustainable and inclusive development across our beloved and beautiful continent. I welcome and express best wishes to the new Bureau, comprising Egypt, Brazil, and Uganda, for a phenomenal tenure.
The Accra Declaration, which was signed by President Akufo-Addo, was presented to the bank. Egypt will be hosting the next annual meetings in 2023.
Acting Chief Economist at the African Development Bank, Professor Kevin Chika Urema, is calling for modification of the global financing architecture. According to him, there needs to be a review to guide financial flows to ensure equality in the distribution of funds. Speaking with my colleague earlier, he emphasized the importance of using new development paradigms to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 1.
The current global financial architecture was crafted in the post-Second World War era to address the issues of development that was pertinent in those days. And you can agree with me, this has served the world very well for over 40 years, now getting to 50 years. So we see globally, not just for Africa, but everywhere else, that there is need for us to review and rethink how we are doing development, how financial flows happens. For example, in the focus of these annual meetings, we find that climate finance is not flowing to areas of need because they are more vulnerable, they have lack of institutional capacity to provide bankable projects and so on. So if we are to achieve the global sustainable development goals of leaving no one behind, we need to think of a global financing architecture that prioritizes that objective of not leaving anyone behind. And that means that we'll have an architecture that will prioritize, that is pro-poor and is able to pull people out of poverty and not leave people out of poverty. So we're not saying that the global financing architecture is wrong, but we're saying maybe it's time for us to look at it again and see how we need to improve it in order to improve the huge benefits that it has brought to the world. Thousands, millions and millions of people have already been lifted out of poverty during the period, thanks to the architecture that we have now. What we're saying in the report is that we need to look for development paradigms that tries to bring all this together in order to build an inclusive and a more sustainable development to prepare Africa for adapting to climate change, for mitigating climate emissions, while not stopping Africa from having access to energy in order to be able to support structural transformation and industrialization across the continent.
Away from that, shareholders of EcoBank Group to receive dividend after years of missing out due to challenging financial results. Every shareholder will be getting 16% share, representing $40 million as total dividend payment by end of June this year. This was announced at the bank's annual general meeting in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Here's Jojo Afe's report from there.
The annual general meeting of EcoBank Transnational Incorporated brought together some of its shareholders all over Africa to gather at Sofitel Hotel in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Majority of the shareholders were coming from Ivory Coast as organizers looked at a more hybrid mechanism for the meeting as some connected virtually. They were primarily to focus on approving the company's financials for last year, reviewing the director's report, as well as looking at the board members whose tenure has expired. Engaging the shareholders, board chairman Alia Nekosho described 2021 as an exciting one due to work done over the years.
À l'effet de délibérer sur l'ordre du jour suivant. 1. Approbation des comptes de affectation de résultats, voire.
For some shareholders, the dividend payment can be described as an exciting one, coming after years of non-payment due to some challenges that the bank was going through. One of these shareholders couldn't hide his joy, but to praise the board of directors for some good work done.
First and foremost, this account we are considering today is very historical. I wonder why we need to comment, because the board and the management are doing a fantastic job for us to be in a position we are today. Kudos to you, sir.
This put the total dividend payout at $40 million from the $357.4 million profits posted for last year. Group Chief Executive of EcoBank, Ade Ayemi, noted that the time has come for shareholders to be rewarded for their patience.
But be rest assured that the growth is coming through. The devaluation is not allowing it to go through, but the underlying performance is good, and you will see growth as well in the profitability of the company, because we are also dealing, as we deal with the revenue that has devaluation, we are also having devaluation in the cost. So that on a net basis for the company, we are seeing fundamental.
Speaking to Joy Business after the meeting, the Group Chief Executive, Ade Ayemi, noted that this is an indication that they have turned the corner and we should expect another record profit for 2022.
We may not be able to move as fast as we would have loved if the environment is supportive, but we believe, listen, during COVID, we grew our customer deposit by $2 billion. As a company. So there's also the idea that good organizations outperform the environment during challenging times.
Ayemi noted that they see more opportunities for the bank going forward as a result of the turnaround in its operations. This is despite the threats of inflation and developments in Russia.
When you start paying dividend, one of the challenges is you don't want to start and stop. So we've taken our time to start. We started low, because if you see the payout ratio is in the 16% range payout ratio. So we started low, and we believe that going forward we should be able to sustain this and grow it.
All resolutions tabled at the annual general meeting got shareholders' approval. For some of these shareholders at the meeting, this payment of dividend may help improve the share price of EcoBank Transnational Incorporated in Ghana and other markets in the region.
Struggling financial institutions across the country have been entreated to be prudent in their management of liquidity. According to the Managing Director for Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited, Daniel Addo, consistent cash flow forecasting, maximizing network capital and maintaining current credit facilities should be plans established in the attempt to avert a liquidity crisis. Here is more in the following report.
At the Faculty of Accounting and Finance Alumni Spotlight Series at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Mr. Daniel Addo described the financial sector as reliable prior to the sector's cleanup exercise. He further advised financial institutions to exercise caution in order to keep overhead costs under control and to consider obtaining a line of credit.
The financial system is in much better shape than it was 4 years ago. Capital adequacy within a financial system is very high. Non-performing loans have moderated, and so the solvency within the system is very good. Now, for financial institutions that are suffering, obviously they have to rework their way back to a solid position. And like I've said before, liquidity is always a key thing, and so you need to ensure that your asset liability management is best in class. You're on top of that, right? You need to ensure that you're watching the kind of exposures you're taking on the balance sheet, and most importantly, you need to watch your governance, risk and controls to ensure that you don't get caught in a situation where you have a liquidity crisis.
In response to the increase in inflation and policy rate, he stated that the Bank of Ghana is apt in that decision and that things will be altered to save the financial sector.
No, the way forward is very simple. Inflation has to be tamed and has to be brought down. Inflation is a silent killer. It's the armed robber that comes without a gun. You know, in an inflationary situation, your money loses very, very quickly. And so, inflation must be tamed. And I think that the moves that the right central bank has taken over the last couple of months are in the right direction. There's no quarrel about that at all. They're doing what has to be done to tame inflation. And that's the way to go.
The topic for this year's Faculty of Accounting and Finance Alumni Spotlight Series is looking forward backwards, leading in a volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world.
Away from that, the stock markets closed the week with 1 gainer and 3 losers. Joining us is Patrick Edemagama, who is the head of trading at Republic Securities, with some updates on how trading fared on the stock market this week. Hello, Patrick, if you can hear me.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Activities on the stock market this week shot up significantly as investors prepare for the dividend season. The market closed recording a total volume traded of 4.8 million shares, representing values traded of 4.3 million Ghana cedis. The composite index fell slightly, recording a year-to-date loss of 8.41%, while the financial stock index dropped some points to close at a year-to-date gain of 1.89%. Total was the sole gainer, closing the week at 4.1 Ghana cedis per share, representing 0.99% week-on-week gain. GCB lost a peso to close at 5.06 pesos per share, whilst CAL also lost 4 pesos to close at 87 pesos per share. ETI led the losers, dropping by 5.26% to close the week at 18 pesos per share.
Thank you so much. Moving on, it has been 5 months into the year, but prices of food items have seen a sharp rise. Traders in the various markets have been widely affected. They say sales have been slow. On today's edition of the Joy Business Shopping List, Love FM's Mona Lisa Frimpong speaks to some traders at the Ejiso market.
It's another episode of the shopping list, and we are here at the Ejiso market to interact with traders as they tell us the prices of some food commodities on the market.
First pan near ton bargain 5 million. Say 6 million. First near bonu 5 cities. Not just about who once. This is a course so don't to be one star. To the big cry, they be to me, and Yan say, maybe a next week, Yanisa. They say carrot to say, Nanka a ton 1.2. They say carrot bottom 1.8. They got 2 million. They blame a bottom of 2 million. 2 million time, 2 million. Say just here the back, what you say? 2 cities, 3 cities. Cassia Pan near the 4 cities. Let's so back 2 cities. Me and some 5 cities. And a cabbage, 7 million. Bottom 7 million to wait. Say. Wait. Me the big 5 cities, and a 7 cities, and a 10 cities. 10 cities, they are not there, no, so 5 cities, 7 cities.
I wanted a question. First, no, not gallon we say no. Me to be about 2 million, and about 2.8, and about 3 million. And say we are 4.5. Any so since I was a member, so I will move back 4.5 and minimum dear, with the budget. Then come with some bonus for former Maya and Kayape. They say obi ba so ope 2 cedis na 3 cedis mitimi mboma no. They say bo na akosoro. Me bu 2 cedis a enso misika. Ana mbu 3 cedis a enso misika. Mpa cho we ni boy 30 cedis. Mpa cho we see 15 cedis. We 10 cedis.
Is it a question and a boy first na enketwa no. Me fa the last time ho no pra na enketwa na be 15 cedis. Great 15 cedis. And actually e be ba 18 cedis no na nka ho no de na nka yempo ye be fa ne ta. By say and enketwa kura na 27 cedis. And sana de toso medium no 29 cedis. Large no ebi mu kura de 35 cedis na 33 cedis e wo market. Price no cost into a market no highest type what's the price no cost obo na nipa no we jai to amom toye aduane bebre jai school mu fo bebre jai e man no so mo pampem de ko achin kra bebre jai nam ne bo na yet ama market na nkokra papa to say the first no na nke comment ama ya ton fast the bread.
You've seen and heard the prices of some food commodities on the market, and you've seen how fast some of the prices are rising. That means if you are used to sending 50 Ghana cedis to the market to shop for ingredients for preparing stew, you may have to double it this time around, as it will not suffice. So that's it for this week's episode of The Shopping List. My name is Mona Lisa Frimpong.
And that's your shopping list from the Ejiso markets. And that's how we end Prime Business here. We have more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Up next is what's trending on the international front.